It starts with uncertainty, and you can see that playing out in the pandemic. And uncertainty often leads to then a sense of unfairness. We've seen people, in the lockdown start to go, well, that's not fair. Why do I have to do this and they can't do that? Then people start to feel a loss of control. They feel like there's nothing they can do to change things. So that loss of control then starts depleting the emotional resources. People feel worse about what's being expected of them. And obviously all of that then leads to that resistance. All right, I'm not going to play.
The question is from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Paul from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Richard from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Ricky from Thinking Focus.
And the question is, why does this lockdown feel harder? So we're sitting here, mid-January? We're recording this, middle of the month. UK, totally locked down. I don't know about you two. Feels really tough this time round.
Yeah.
Really tough.
I've run out of money.
Well, I've run out of everything. Run out of money, run out of energy.
I've spent that much on FIFA points and V-Bucks for Freddie. It's unreal.
And printer cartridges, because all the homeschooling, and reams of paper for all that as well. But no, I think it, the fact that this is a tough time of year anyway, traditionally, isn't it? Darker months. You've had the excitement of Christmas, and it's kind of like, right, heads down to Easter, and it's quite tough anyway. And I think this has made it a lot tougher.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a normal year, January is you're right. It's a tough month. You kind of come out New Year. You may start with big aspirations, and then the kind of reality of the month hits you, and you're back into the trudge. In previous years, you kind of leave home in the dark. You get home in the dark. January can be quite a tough, psychologically tough month anyway. And then suddenly everyone's told, don't even leave home.
Yeah, I think that, and the ways that we recharge our batteries by socialising with others, whether that's through, getting out of the house and going to work, whether that's through seeing friends at a weekend or going out to dinner or whatever, helps you get through those periods. I think one of the other things as well is lots of people, maybe many people start doing this, because I was talking to someone on Friday who'd done this, but, you book holidays, don't you? So, and almost that's a marker in the sand, whether it's for Easter or later in the year, you book a holiday, and you've got something to look forward to that you start to focus on. But I think,
good point.
I think for lots of us that we're not booking holidays. We haven't done that yet because we don't know what the impact of all this will be. So there's also that point in time that you're looking forward to that you're missing now as well.
Yeah, and there was some really interesting research. I don't know if you saw this that was published. I think it was the start of December. It was from King's College London with Ipsos Murray, where they kind of did a survey and went, why are people struggling with it? And there was three big themes that kind of jumped out to me. And one was about actually, the weather, the coldness, the darkness.
Yeah,
just makes it really much more difficult to meet up with people, to meet up with family, meet up with friends. Get out of the house, do things.
Yeah.
And so about 44% of people were struggling because of that. I think 42% of the people in their survey came back as just worn out.
Mm-hmm.
Just no energy.
So physically, mentally worn out, is that?
Yeah, just this pandemic has worn them down. They've got nothing more to give. And I kind of get that. I think there has been, been moments where I felt like that. Alongside another 23% who just went, I'm bored with it. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I've heard, this has been going on for too long. I've heard too much about it. I just want to move on now.
Yeah.
The worn out thing's really interesting because, if you look at last year, we were on a number of false starts. So you think, if only we can get to, and then we can have a break, and then we can have a break. And that break never came. And actually, you never feel quite as refreshed when you're in your own home as you do if you go, to the seaside, to, abroad or wherever, the lakes, wherever you get your kind of R&R. Nobody had that in the same way they would normally.
Do you think as well that, like you just said there, we had a number of false starts? Do you think that we've got a lack of faith in those false starts now as well? So, you kind of go, well, I don't believe that's going to happen, or we'll wait and see whether that's right. Whereas maybe we had more faith in it before, so your buy into things is less.
I think there's two sides to that. I think there is less trust, and in fact, that came out in the survey. 34% of people just said, "I just don't trust what we're being told anymore," and that I think it's partly because the message changes so regularly, and it's partly because I don't know about you guys, but you kind of go and watch the news now, and everything any minister says is then dissected, torn apart. They're looking for the inconsistencies. They're looking to go, "What? But last week, Minister, you said this, and now it's that." And the answer is because things have changed since last week.
Yeah.
But so I think all of that in the background is causing a lot more mistrust in the advice. But I also think there's a purpose bit behind this as well. So I think lockdown 1 was easier because we were all united in a really common purpose. From a business perspective, it was like, how do I move my business to home working? How do I get everybody sorted? How do I make sure all my staff are protected?
How do I make sure the business can work, can run? We're all in this together. We all want the company to continue, whoever you worked for. So there was a backs to the wall spirit in that.
And we want to stay safe, don't we?
Yeah.
And I think that's gone. And I don't think there is a shared sense of purpose anymore. I think people are a little bit like, well, I want this and you want that. And we're all working on different timelines and with different aspirations. And I think that makes life harder.
Sorry, Paul, but I don't think the way in which the restrictions have been managed, because, you've got these inconsistencies that have been applied across, I'm in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and what we're up to now, tier 75 or whatever. But essentially, people, we've got geographical different distances between us. So we're all being able to do different things just within our organisation, let alone, thinking about some of the big, larger organisations we deal with, where you've got people under different expectations, restrictions. Some are allowed to go out and do stuff, or were at least.
Particularly when you work for a global company as well. Some of the companies we work with, where I was on a call last week in a workshop when in between working, the people got talking about vaccine rollouts in different countries and how they look vastly different. And so you've got all that going on. Do you think within that as well, the lack of control that we all have has an impact as well? Because that I've seen some friends around here who've said stuff. When I say I've seen them, I mean online. They've said stuff like, "I want my life back." So there's this lack of control. I've lost control over how I like to run my life.
Yeah, and I think that then breeds a sense of unfairness as well. So this is unfair. I can't do the things I want to do. I can't live the life I want to lead. You add to that, what Ricky was talking about, which is I then see other people who are maybe not impacted in the same way or are under different rules. And so that kind of sense of fairness creeps out. That again makes life much more difficult because it's almost like, and you think back to pandemic 1, lockdown 1, just overblowing it there. Lockdown 1, it at least felt it was equally applied. I mean, as harsh as it felt and as difficult as it felt, there was, and I think one of you guys said it earlier, a sense of we're all in this together.
Well, yeah, I think there was. There was almost at the beginning this sort of gung-ho spirit, of we're going to beat this, we're going to make the most of this. And you saw things coming out, didn't you? You got Joe Wicks doing his stuff. You'd got the TV channels going, right, there's no sport for you to watch, so we're going to find all these archives of it. We're going to put that on. You sort of picked up on that spirit, and maybe the weather was better, so people were making more use of the home, doing things at home. There was this sort of gung-ho spirit, I think, that I picked up on, that I think I don't feel it to the same degree now, maybe for all the things you've said.
But we've got more kind of resentment kicking in, because not only of the restrictions, the differing restrictions that we face, you've also got people that just disregard it, blatantly disregarding it. So now you're going, I'm in a tier 3, 4, 5 area, and I'm doing everything expected of me, yet they're getting away with it. So now you've got this other factor that's coming in. So not only is it unfair, but it's worse because you're not dealing with these people and we're doing the right things that's being expected of us. We're staying in, we're being, very cautious about how we do things, and all the, face space and, washing your hands, all of that sort of stuff. You're doing all the right things, but
Hands, face, space.
You can see, thanks, Rich, but you can see that other people are doing or disregarding those. We went out for a walk as a family, and there's kids on the park. And I don't mean just 2 or 3. There's like 7, 8, 9 of them together.
I was about to say, just think about that. Does that remind you of anything?
Yeah. Because what I was going to say is, what would you say with business leadership to have you? If you equate that to like running a change program in your business, you're changing some stuff around, because it strikes me there are some similarities there. People doing what they should be doing, people ignoring it, people not knowing why we're doing it and what it means, people that are resistant, people that think it's unfair. That sounds quite similar, doesn't it, to a number of programs that we support in organizations?
Well, we talk about those kind of why people react to change projects, and we talk about these 4 things. So we talk about, it starts with uncertainty. So I'm not quite sure what's expected of me. I'm not quite sure what it's all about. And you can see that playing out in the pandemic. And uncertainty often leads to then a sense of unfairness. And I start to see people doing different things to what I'm allowed to do. Well, we've seen that clearly in a pandemic. We've seen people, in the lockdown start to go, well, that's not fair. Why do I have to do this and they can't do that?
Yep.
Then people start to feel a loss of control. They feel like there's nothing they can do to change things. And when we know that sense of control is one of the things that keeps resilience up. So that loss of control then starts depleting the emotional resources. People feel worse about what's being expected of them. They feel more negative. They feel more blue. They want to react to that. They're not quite sure what to do. And obviously all of that then leads to that resistance. All right, I'm not going to play. Yeah. And so what are we seeing? What we just talked about? We're seeing, Ricky was just going, there are kids now just acting like nothing's going on, and parents doing things, and, and that's all playing out. That's exactly what we would see, and the sort of things we would talk about in a large corporate change project.
Absolutely. A, it's not just kids, and by kids I mean young adults, and B, there are other groups that are doing this too, because they're just disregarding that. So I think let's not just have a go at the kids, but I think the principles of the change piece is absolutely valid. I think that they're all reacting in those different ways, and then you compound that with the time of year, the weather, or the lack of light, and we're not accessing necessarily enough light. We're not getting out there at times because we're in homeschooling, working, trying to manage multiple meetings. There's kind of a perfect storm working against us right now, which begs the question: what can we do about it?
Oh, I think there's some interesting points that you both raise, and if you are running a company, or you're a leader within a company, that stuff that Paul just talked about, there's some things there to perhaps go and revisit. Time has passed since the first lockdown, where we got people focused and got them back on things. Maybe things have happened in individual businesses. We've gone into a new calendar year, and people try and get refocused at that time of year. But you talked about there, Paul. So you kind of go, where can you create certainty? What can you create certainty around for people? What can you do to help people understand the reasons why things are happening in your organization, to remove some of the unfairness stuff?
And that reason why bit is also going back to that higher purpose. So it's really easy to come out in January and go, let's hit the ground running and be task focused, to just talk about the actions. But actually, when we're all emotionally drained, we just need to lift it up that little bit to a higher level to go, remember what we're trying to do here, guys. What are we trying to achieve?
Reconnect it to the purpose.
Yeah.
I think that's right. And the third thing you talked about was control, wasn't it? So where can you give control? Where can you give people a sense of control? And one of those things could link directly into the challenges that we feel in lockdown. I was talking to a guy that runs the UK as a region for a large med device company last week, and he said something interesting to me. He was talking about a member of his management team that was struggling, like most people, with homeschooling and all that stuff, and the work demands. And And he said to her, look, just do what you can when you can. And what he was trying to do was give control back to her about what she did and when she did it and how she did it. And he was sort of saying, I'm here to help. I've got your back. Do what you can when you can. And I think that's a good message, because it put control back in her court. So she didn't feel like everything was out of control, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think they're really, really kind of good core things that you just sort of can go and do right now to kind of make this feel a little bit less difficult.
Sounds like a good point to end it there.
That felt like the end.
Yeah, that's why we all said nothing.
Next time on The Question Is.
You know, what I always find really interesting when we're talking about this topic with people is we're all feeling this, aren't we? You know, it's not certain groups of people. It's everyone that our resilience is really being tested. But first of all, when we talk about this, what do we mean by, what does resilience mean?
To find out how Thinking Focus can unlock the potential within your organisation, go to www.thinkingfocus.com, where you'll discover more about the work we do, helping our clients increase productivity and enable change.